first, when I was in the service, I was Gloria Terlizzi.
Okay.
I had all kinds of difficult names.
Okay. Today is Thursday, May 5th, 2011, and we are interviewing Gloria Terlizzi Parochetti
Right.
at the LaSalle, Illinois Veterans Home. And Gloria was born on September 5th, 1922. My name is Cheryl Walker, and I am from Illinois Secretary of State, Illinois State Library. And Gloria, could you please state what war and branch of service you were in?
Well, I was in World War II, and I was in the U.S. Navy Waves. We were called Waves at that time. Women accepted for voluntary enlistment service.
Okay.
That's what we initials stood for.
Okay. So would you like to share with us some of your war memories and
Experiences, and I was very happy to be enlisted into the Waves. I weighed both branches, and I felt my best opportunities to lie in the Waves. So I went to boot camp, New York City. Of course, being from Sterling, Illinois, near Chicago, Great Lakes wasn't open at that time. It hadn't opened yet, opened later. And there is where most of the enlisted people or the Waves went later. But it wasn't open at the time that I enlisted, so I had to go all the way to New York to Hunter's College. Hunter's College was an exclusive women's college in New York, and the government took it over and made it a training camp for us. So we had some pretty nice facilities there, because it being, really a really nice residence for the girls that went to Hunter's College there. So, we had a night. But we had to do our training and, our marching and our indoctrination and all the studies that went with, becoming an enlisted person. Very interesting.
so your rank was yeoman?
Yes, I reached yeoman, which in the service, it was like I was in civilian life, is an office worker. So they felt that at that time that they wanted to get the girls placed right away. The war was at its peak, and so they didn't really want to take too much time training, so they put you where you were already trained. And of course, having worked in an office as a secretary and a clerk for I went to business college, they stuck me right as a yeoman, which is an office worker.
And where were you stationed at?
I was stationed in San Francisco, California. Really nice city.
Okay. And can you tell me a couple about some good memorable experiences that you have?
Well, I enjoyed my work very much. I got to type, and they had to be done perfectly with no errors. The different citations that went to the boys and the deceased too, that earned the Purple Heart and Medals of Honor, along with those medals, they got the certificate stating their name and their rank and whatnot, and I was helping type those, which I thought was an honor, because the men that I was typing them for were, in my mind, were all heroes.
Correct.
They were all heroes.
And you say that you received the Good Conduct Medal.
Yeah, I behaved myself very well. I followed orders, and that's the main thing, and that's, I think, one of the main reasons I got the medal, because I followed orders.
Did you have to type your own citation up for that?
Yeah, no, they wouldn't let us type our own. We had to have someone else that was in the office typing.
Was it typed perfect?
It had to be perfect.
Okay.
No typographical errors.
And yours wasn't. It didn't have any errors, did it?
No errors.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I have it somewhere.
Good.
Yeah, I still have it. I wouldn't part with something like that.
Did you correspond with your family quite a bit?
Oh, yes, quite a bit. I had a family, and I had a sister that she was married to a captain, and he was stationed mostly in Fort Benning, Georgia. He was a captain in the service, and you know, we'd write back and forth, and whenever I got a leave, I'd go to see her wherever they were stationed, and she'd come often to see me when he was overseas, and you know, she was sort of at loose ends because he was gone. No, she'd come and stay with me.
Did you live on base?
Yes, I lived on base. Of course, when I was stationed in San Francisco, the bases were all crowded. They had so many gals that had come in, so they gave us subsistence pay, which meant they gave us so much a week, and we'd go out and find our own apartment and our own room and board and stuff, which worked out nicely because I lived in San Francisco in a big house. This woman rented out to military personnel. So in this big house, it was right by the bay, there was a Marine gal, there was someone in the waves like myself, there was an Army personnel. We had all four branches, each one of us living in this big house, and we got along fine.
Did you share meals and things?
Yes.
Did you?
She had a kitchen there, a real nice kitchen we could use, and of course a lot of times we like to go out and eat. San Francisco got a lot of good eating places, especially at, you know, on the bay there where you could get all kinds of fish. You know? But we shared the kitchen, you know, and took turns, you know, like I don't think any of us ever got up at the same time. So, you know, one would be in the kitchen, the other one would be waiting for it, maybe, you know. And we got along fine. It was amazing, really.
Did you feel the pressure and the stress being in the waves?
No, felt no pressure or stress because it was something I wanted to do. So I felt like I was doing what I wanted to do, and I wasn't being pressured or anything.
Living in San Francisco, and living off base, you had a lot of ability to find entertainment. You know, it was easy.
Right.
So how did you entertain yourself?
Well, of course, like you said, San Francisco had a lot of entertainment, and being in California, not too far from Hollywood, we had all the stars that would come to the base to entertain us. So I got to see Frank Sinatra and, you know, at that time, all the big stars, Bob Hope, which was one of my favorites anyway. And so I always enjoyed that, getting to see all these big stars while I was there. The thrill.
Did you travel anywhere special while you were on leave?
Well, whenever I got leave, I would go home, you know. But I did travel after I got discharged. I felt that it was a good time to travel while I could get a discount wherever I went. So I did travel and wanted to see most of the states, so I did. I traveled through the states slowly so I could see them, you know.
So traveling after you was discharged was a benefit for military people?
Yes, I thought so. I thought so. Of course, when I traveled around the world, I had made up my mind that's what I wanted to do. And it took me a while, almost 13 years, but I did it. But I always liked to travel in tourist groups. I felt safer. And then you had a leader that was very informative of all the things that you should really know about the area. And I felt, you know, if I had to look up myself or just travel myself, I'd probably get lost half the time. So I felt it better, much better to travel in tourist groups. Very much. It was, you know, to me it was very much safer and more satisfying, where I wasn't always looking up, you know, where I was going, how I was going to get there, make reservations. This was all done for you. So I enjoyed that.
Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events during your service time?
Usually events.
Unusual or humorous?
Humorous. We always had something happening, you know, all the time. It was, you know what I mean, it wasn't always strenuous and serious. We always had our good times too there.
Did you pull pranks on each other?
Oh yeah, we always kind of kidded around with each other, and you know, it was fun. You know what I mean? The people that I met were just great, and I felt I really enjoyed my job very much too.
Mm-hmm. What kind of pranks did you pull?
Sometimes we'd pull pranks on each other when the different fellows would come by to more or less take us out on a date or take us to the theater or somewhere. He'd come and he would ask for this one, you know, person that he had met through a friend of his. So we'd kind of exchange people ourselves as people. And first he'd have to come in the door, and then the gals would kind of peek from the other room, and the one that kind of liked him, well, then she was the one he was after, although she wasn't. So I would say that was kind of pulling pranks once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun together.
What did you think of your officers and fellow soldiers, or waves?
I thought they were all great.
Mm-hmm.
I met a wonderful, wonderful group of people.
Did you have any problems with did you have female officers?
Yes.
You did?
Uh-huh.
Were you treated differently by the men officers than, did they treat you differently?
No, they were very respectful.
They were?
Sometimes you'd get a 90-day wonders, I'd call them. These lieutenants that made it up, in 90 days, that really didn't know what military life was really about, and they'd like to throw their rank around. And so sometimes those fellas would get under our skin, We kind of learned to ignore them.
Do you recall the day that you were discharged?
Yeah, VJ Day or
Yeah.
VE Day?
Yeah. What?
Oh, yes. Well, when I was in San Francisco, I might say that, excuse the expression, but all hell broke loose. Everybody went out in the streets and was kissing everybody and dancing and singing. We had to be ushered back to our barracks because guys were getting a little bit too rough. And so the MPs and the SPs were ushering, they were the military and police and the shore patrol. They were ushering us back to our barracks and made us stay there because things were getting awful wild. But you couldn't help it, you know what I mean? The war was over and everybody was all happy about it, but I think some let their happiness go a little too far.
And how long after that were you discharged and able to go home?
Well, I had to go through certain procedures, when you're discharged, and I think it took me about 30 days before I could actually get on the road and go home.
Mm-hmm. Did they ask you to re-up?
Yeah, of course they wanted you to, but I think by that time I was ready to go home and try civilian life again.
Did you go back to school, or were you allowed to use the GI Bill?
Yeah, you could use the GI Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did go to school. Of course, like I say, I majored in business, and I had taken about all the shorthand and bookkeeping that I could take, so there really wasn't a whole lot, unless I wanted. I really would have liked to, and I should have endeavored going on to get my degree and become a teacher, because I like that line of work a lot. But as a secretary and bookkeeper, I was making fairly well, so I thought, I don't think I can do much better financially. I had a good job, and I thought, well, I better stay here.
Where did you work after you got out of the service?
Well, we had in Sterling, Illinois, what they call Northwestern Steel and Wire Company. And our president there, Mr. Dillon, said that the first people you hire, if you're hiring anybody in the offices or out in the plant, better be a veteran. I admired him for that. He was a true, true patriot.
Did you retire from there?
Yeah, I worked there until I got married, and then I still worked there for a while, and then when I started having children, then I felt, a place was at home with the children.
How many children did you have?
3.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
Yeah, I think when I got home, I joined they had a women's chapter of the American Legion. I joined that.
Mm-hmm. Did you make any close friends while you were in the service?
Oh, yeah. Some very nice friends, close friends. We wrote to each other for years and years. In fact, almost till most of them are gone now. You know, 88, and they died a little sooner. But I made some very close friends.
How do you feel that the military time that you spent in the waves influenced your thinking about war and military in general?
I think it had a great influence. Like I say, I'm a real patriot. One of those that'll do anything for her country.
Did you attend any kind of reunions?
Yes, for a while. We try to get together with the ones that lived like in Illinois and Indiana that lived close by. I think we had one in Ohio. But you know how that went. They each got their families and children, and you know, it kind of, after so many years, I don't know how many years, we kind of tried to get together every year. It was around at least 4 or 5 years, but you know how they go their own way and with their children and get tied up in different things. So we came down to, I don't know how many, 2 or 3, so you know, we just kind of gave it up. But we tried to keep most of us together, but there are 2 or 3 of us that stuck together and wrote to each other, and we got to see each other whenever we could.
Is there anything that you would like to share with us?
You mean along what lines of just
With
experience that I've had?
Mm-hmm.
My only thought is, the way I thought through the whole thing was, do what you can for your country. Who is it that said it? Kennedy? Not ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And those are my thoughts exactly. My thoughts. You know, if we all had a little more of that, why? Well, I think a lot of us do. Maybe we just don't show it or something, you know, but I think most citizens here, of course, you know, we've had a lot of infiltration of different people that want to change our minds about things, and we've got to learn to kind of ignore those kind of people and think our own thoughts.
Well, Gloria, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.